Hello everyone and welcome back to PSGL here for F9 here in season 29 at the Circuit of the Americas. We're coming towards the end of the season. I'm your commentator Jackson, and alongside me is the one and only Storm.
Yes, good evening and welcome back to F9 should I say, and he said Formula 9 then. After a very chaotic end to the race in Mexico last week, the drivers were given half points as of lap 18, so it does make the standings a little bit interesting. But we are here in the US of A, in the Circuit of Americans, and we are in for an absolute treat. The race is going to be starting on dries, but at the end of the race we could be seeing some intermediate and wet compound tyres.
Yeah, that really could set up a very exciting conclusion to today's race. Of course, the weather we've seen before this season, in Austria in particular, where rain has come late on in the race and has really mixed up the field. So a safety car, of course, will have a big impact on that, like it did in Austria. So it really depends how these drivers do and deal with the transition to the wetter conditions if the rain does indeed come before the end of the race. Because, I mean, on that sort of slippery stage when it's still dry tyres are the best, but equally the rain is coming down, it we're quite likely to see a car or two off the road, which of course could bring out a safety car, leading to what could be a very interesting end to the race. But we're in qualifying at the moment. Nice, well, I was going to say sunny skies, not really sunny skies, but the track is dry for these drivers are in this qualifying session. The Circuit of the Americas is not a hard track to overtake on, so we could definitely see qualifying not being too important, but equally with turn 1 the way it is, you really don't want to be in the mid-pack there, because as we've seen in real life in particular, it can get a bit messy there down on the lap 1, turn 1.
Yeah, and I think track invalidations is going to be another key area for this track as well, through them left and right S's. I think turn 1 for the race start, whoever is the pole sitter may just want to cover off whoever is in P2, as we saw Max Verstappen and Hamilton do. That tyre compound choices at the moment is the Pirelli dry compound tyres, which is the C2, the C3 and the C4. That is the soft, the medium and the hard. The soft being the quickest of the three. The mediums is quick, but it also gives you the longevity, and then the hards are the slower compound of the three and will give you at least most of the 50% race. I'd reckon around about 18 to 20 laps, so drivers may opt for the one stop here. I'm not sure if it is a soft to medium, but it may be seeing some hards or even the intermediates in the latter stages of the race.
With that rain potentially coming at the end of the race, we could actually see people mix it up for the first couple of stints, because we don't really know what strategy these guys will go with. But with that rain coming at the end, some drivers may go assuming or hoping it'll stay dry and go for a normal traditional strategy around here, but we could see one or two drivers perhaps taking a risk on the rain, hoping it comes earlier than perhaps it's scheduled to, and maybe do a pit stop less than some of the others and gain a bit of time that way. So certainly if someone has a bad qualifying, they're likely to try a strategy like that, in which case that could definitely mix things up if the rain does come. But equally we've got to consider the forecast isn't always that accurate in this game, so it is quite possible that the rain doesn't come, in which case a whole new strategy ends up being the preferred one, and it mixes up everything again. So it really is a balancing act for these drivers to try and work out which strategy is the way to go. But at the moment, in qualifying, it's the two Ferraris up at the top of the timesheet, and the with Niklas at the top, just ahead of his teammate Mentos coming back after his race ban last time out in Mexico. And as I said, that Pachuca goes top.
Pachuca had an up and down season. He got the race win and the pole position in China, but has then become more of a kind of midfield pack runner. When it does rain here, it does rain, and I think also if you want the track to dry as well from the rain, it takes a good amount of laps. I've raced here myself, and yeah, the rain doesn't just go away, it does hold on to the track for a certain amount of time. But I think we'll know when that crossover period is, because obviously the DRS will be disabled. So I just wonder if anybody is going to make a bold statement and go for a wet setup. But yeah, we won't know that. Obviously only the drivers will know that, and the first nine drivers, should I say, have set lap times in, with Black Yoshi now setting the fastest lap of this session with a 131.8. Apologies there, but Bandini goes even quicker with a 131.7.
Yeah, of course, the championship situation is a big thing going to this race, with just 3 races left in the season. The Drivers' Championship fight isn't extremely close at the moment. There's a 15-point gap between our top 2 at the moment. Currently leading the way is Carmen Robb, ahead of FER Bandini. Bandini's had pace all season long, just as quick as Carmen Robb has been at times, if not more often. However, consistency hasn't been on his side, and as a result, he's 15 points behind the leader, which is, well, 1 point less than a race win here in PSGL. So it really is time for Bandini to find that form and to start consistently getting up at the front, because he can't let Carmen Robb get another points over him, because if Carmen Robb does get another good strong finish today, he's putting himself in a position where, well, in 2 weeks' time in Azerbaijan, a race before the end of the season, we can start saying, can Carmen Robb win this championship race early? In which case, that's when Bandini is basically out of control whether he can fight for the championship or not. Because if a driver's in a position to win the championship early, realistically, their only chance of being stopped is if they mess up rather than if the competition gets stronger, because at that stage of the season you have such a big lead that you can afford to take some mediocre results and win the championship still. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Carmen Robb approaches that, because with 3 races left of the season currently, 15-point lead, he can afford to lose a couple of points each race, but equally, it's still at the stage of the season where if you have an incident, so let's say Carmen Robb has some sort of incident today whilst battling for the win and retires, and Bandini goes on to have a top finish, there goes his lead. So I think it's crucial that Carmen Robb balances whether to sort of push for the wins, max out, make sure to get as many points as possible, but equally taking sort of the whole championship picture into contention, knowing that he's the leader at the moment, and perhaps sort of looking at the big picture in each race that he does. But that'll be the big sort of deciding factor for Carmen Robb in the next few races.
Yeah, and just going into the stream chat, regarding the PSGL sign-ups, for people that do want to join, sign-ups are currently closed at the moment. They did open briefly, I think, earlier on last week, but they are now closed, and I suspect for the PS League, league should I say, as there's multiple of them, I don't think they'll open now until next season. So if you do want to join, then unfortunately it will have to be next season. It's normally done when PSGL need reserves, or they need drivers to, basically fill up the grids. But yeah, at the moment, PSGL sign-ups are officially closed for the PlayStation leagues. Obviously, I don't know about PC because I don't own a fast enough PC to thing. But yeah, going back to the race, if you go back to Silverstone, where Bandini actually had a very good wet race there, barring the 5 seconds I think he got for when we had that numerous yellow flag glitch. Yeah, then there was Karen Robb DC in China, but still got P4. So I think both drivers have had their moments, but if it's a wet race, I put my money on Bandini.
The raw pace is definitely there. Looking at the standings now, both drivers have 3 wins each. However, the big difference I'm noticing here is in terms of when you're not winning, where do you finish? And when Bandini's not winning, he's either not scoring at all or getting a few points. I mean, the highest position he's had when not winning is, I think, a P4 finish, which he's only got twice, and then it's a P5 and so on and so forth below it. Admittedly, he did have a podium last time at Mexico, but it was sort of the worst race to get a podium at, really, because that was the half points race, and he ended up only getting 5 points for it, which I believe is usually the equivalent of about 7th or 8th place, which, of course, isn't much. Of course, it was the same for everyone in that race, so I suppose in the championship sakes, it didn't really change much. But it was a big point-scoring opportunity that he would have missed for the title fight this season. But, I mean, yeah, weather could play a big part in this championship, as you say, and it'll be interesting to see who does do well in these situations, because, as I was saying earlier, Carmen Robb could perhaps afford to play it a bit safe, and it's getting to the stage of the season where it is really just those two in the fight. Hype Scholz is, I mean, only 6 points behind Bandini, so he's definitely in the fight, but I mean, Hype doesn't have a win this season. He's got 2 second place finishes, 2 third place finishes, so he's definitely not had a bad season. But he's got into that championship position through consistency rather than the outright pace of the others. So I think this is, at the moment at least, looking like a two-way fight between the top two guys. However, if those guys do have Verstappen and Hamilton take each other out, then maybe we could be talking about different drivers perhaps getting their way into the title fight as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw this in, the spanner in the works. Just take this into consideration. If Pandini and Karen Robb don't finish this race, or they don't get any points, and say, because you said that Hyped is 6 points behind Bandini, I believe.
Yeah.
Just imagine if Hyped wins this race. That throws that championship massively because of the effects of what Mexico had with the half points. Just imagine if Hype wins this race.
Yeah, it would change everything. In a scenario where if Hype can suddenly get into form towards the end of the season, that really would change everything. But meanwhile, in this qualifying session, to the top of the times, FCT the best with a 1:31.7. Admittedly, this lap time's been set slightly later in the session, than those around him, so you could say track acclimatization has a factor in it. But still, I believe he hasn't done a full season, so FCT the best, looking like they've got some good form so far here at COTA.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that is a reserve, I believe. Came in through the last sign-ups. We did have quite a few new reserves in F9. One of them being FCT the best. I'm going to really struggle to pronounce these names. Why do people make PSN names so difficult? One of the Red Bulls, which should have been Carl's free this evening, but a few check-in issues. He's not here. Ernalize, is that, or Ernalizzle, is that how you pronounce it?
I guess Ernrizzle is my guess.
Yeah, he's a reserve. And I believe the other one is Penguino. Hyped has rejoined. Did he leave the session?
Yes, he did earlier on. I'm guessing there was some sort of disconnection there. Because he has set a lap time, so he definitely was in the session at some point.
Oh, okay, yeah. It is quite interesting that everybody has gone for the softs except for Vavabet. He's gone for the mediums, the only driver on the mediums. The lap times are quite spread out through the 131s. Like, they're not even a tenth between. They're like milliseconds, and that's how important the championship is for the drivers and the constructors. Tusum, who was up in Mexico, he's not set a lap yet, so that'll be interesting. I'm going to ride on board with the Alfa Romeo reserve, which is Penguino, joined in his first race last week. Obviously, last week some drivers would consider didn't happen, as myself and probably Jackson can probably forget it as well, as we thought this week was a race break week, but it's not, it's next week. So we thought, we won't be here this week, but we are here in COTA. But yeah, it's definitely a change of week, as we had Kid Smoke here last week, one of the reserves setting the bar, and it seems to be the theme of the reserves getting that fastest lap for pole position.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these reserves getting to the mix here and perhaps mixing up the title fight. Because these drivers haven't got anything to lose. As we said in Mexico, these new drivers that aren't fighting for anything in terms of points, they could just go full guns blazing, try everything, risk everything, whilst the two championship contenders just trying to stay out of trouble and score good points. It could well play a factor in the championship fight. As just on board with the Pied Piper at the moment, he's just backed out of that lap as he's invalidated. It's a close session so far, but I think a lot of drivers struggling with the track limits at the moment, which is an understandable issue to have around here.
Yeah, and I think coming out of turn 1 is going to be quite interesting, because you don't have to go wide, like close to that right side of the track, or if to, tuck the car in and go closer to the left side of the curb. So it is very interesting. As we know, the left and the right curbs, one little bit over and you are invalidation in qualifying, or you are going to get a penalty. I think maybe penalties might be a deciding factor tonight. Obviously in the wet it's going to be very tricky to control the car, I think in the wet, Kyle Robb may have that factor of there's no DRS, he can save a lot more ERS, and he can just control wherever he is in the race, but he needs to be in front of Bandini, and at the moment, he is not.
Yeah, that's very true, as Dustley's retired from the session, saw him having a big off just a moment ago. But Felix won to a couple of times, like half a second. What a lap there from the AlphaTauri driver. I think he may actually be a reserve, I'm not 100% on that one. But, I mean, Felix had a brilliant lap there, really putting himself in the mix of pole position, and yes, later in the session, track acclimatization and all that, but a half a second is a big gap. So it's going to take some pretty impressive laps here from our title contender to take the fight to that, as Bandini has now just started his flying lap in this session, I believe. And it has checkered flag came up with Hype Shoals there. So I believe this session has come to a close, not entirely sure, of course, timing. And also the yellow flags, meaning that we can't really see the clock very easily. But Bandini is now on a lap time, and this could prove a crucial lap time in the sake of the championship, because at the moment Kyle and Rob yet to set a valid lap. So currently a big gap between the two championship contenders.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Robb might want to set that lap very soon. He needs to be close to Bandini as quick as possible. He's going to come through the part of the track where you can understeer it and you can lose it, as he comes now around the double right-handed. The AlphaTauri just gets out of his way. He hasn't invalidated this. He can still invalidate as he comes to the final corner. Where is he going to put that Alfa Romeo? He is going to cross the line, and he puts himself in P3, and Bandini is in P8, but Bandini is still out on a lap as he's going to cross the line. He's going to get DRS. He's not invalidated, and that's Bandini up to P7, so not enough.
Not many people still on laps now. I believe that pretty much is the grid sorted. Twosomes, I believe, just jumped up into second place. I mean, I think Felix One's lap is going to stand here, as Mentos has invalidated his, and thus Jamie's on a flying lap. No, he's going slowly. So there's a pole position there for Felix One, I believe, as Jamie crosses the line. And Jamie apparently hasn't taken the checkered flag. I don't know what's going on with timings at the moment, to be honest, because it still says the 20 seconds left, but everyone appears to have got a checkered flag next to their name. Who knows what's happened there?
Yeah, I have. I've got checkered flag. Jamie hasn't. He's the only one. And Mentos
he has
as
crossed
well.
The line. Mentos hadn't crossed the line, but Jamie has crossed the line after everyone else has, so I guess the game's given him a bit more time. It's very nice of it. I don't know exactly fair, but the game has. But unless something crazy happens here with Jamie, it is going to be a pole position for Felix One here in USA. At moments we didn't know if he was going to actually be able to race today, but he does indeed race and puts himself on pole position ahead of Twosome and Powdy, the first championship contenders. Carl and Rob in 4th, with Bandini now 10th. Just not a good qualifying there for Bandini when he needed it most. I think the only hope he has now is that Jamie qualifies ahead of him, putting Bandini in that sort of free choice of tyre area, and then at least he has something to try and get back in the fight, because starting P10 is probably one of the worst places in the field to start. Jamie is on a pretty decent lap at the moment, but it's hard to tell exactly because he's clearly backed off on his previous flying lap, so his delta isn't exactly accurate to actually tell us where he's going to end up. But I think Bandini will be rooting for Jamie to out-qualify him here, because I think he'll want that P11 qualifying position.
Yeah, and it seems to be that Jamie joining the session late may have caused another glitch, because he's now gone. Where's he gone?
He's gone 12th.
But he's not in the lobby. I had this problem I had this problem yesterday. It caused a whole lobby restart. Because
all he has to do is leave, I think, because it's him that's causing the issue. Everyone else is finished, so the game would automatically surely finish when everyone else is finished, and if he's not here, it can't wait for him. And therefore it would work. We've seen this before with Timer Azim. I think it was Silverstone, as Jamie does leave and it does work. See, big brain. Yeah, that appears to have fixed the issue. Let's hope that it's not another lobby restart and start getting flashbacks for these each time.
I do get flashbacks from Mexico.
Oh, I'm going to get nightmares about lobby restarts and not knowing if it's the actual race start or not. But it is. Felix One on pole position by just over a tenth of a second ahead of Twosome and Powdy. So it's a I think it's fair to say a little bit of surprising top three. I mean, all three drivers have proven this season that they are top drivers, but I think to see those three in particular up at the front, three drivers that aren't really fighting for much this season, up there in the mix, it's going to make for an exciting race here, because that has put our two title contenders in the pack, and in the middle of the pack, anything can happen, especially on lap one of the race, so it's going to be an exciting one for those guys, and perhaps some nervous moments of both our title contenders. Hype Scholl's the driver that is also mathematically in... Well, I say mathematically, there's a lot of drivers still mathematically in the fight, but another driver who is in the mix. I didn't quite see where he qualified, but it was quite a way down the order, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, unless he pulls off some mad strategy with the weather and appears to now be having internet issues, which isn't ideal, but unless something happens there, then I think his championship chances are starting to dwindle. And I think he may have to leave this lobby here, because it seems to be a very similar issue to what happened with Jamie, this time with the other Husker, which is a worrying thing. Oh, wait, no, apparently it's worked, I don't know. Okay, now, who knows what's going on, honestly. Looks like it's working, though. Hopefully the cars will be on the grid soon. But that's a pretty exciting qualifying session. What do you think of it? Who do you think is going to be able to sort of convert those grid positions? And, I mean, out of the title contenders, who do you think is going to be the ones that can perhaps get themselves back up in the mix?
From that, literally everybody down to Bandini was within 1/10 of each other on the qualifying. So it's the situation of make your mark, make your moment, and stick with it. I think that's the only way you're going to, if you're going to have to do something bold that you've never done before, I think, to get past anybody, because everyone is going to be so compact beside each other. Literally, the DRS is just going to be causing trains everywhere. I don't think, unless you're the top three, you're not going to really be able to pull away. I don't think. It's something that you can't, pinpoint and put somebody out. They're going to win the race.
Well, the cars are on the grid now, and they are preparing to take their formation lap here. We'll get up the tyre data and get everything ready for today's race. The majority of field looking to stay on the soft compound of tyre, but a few exceptions out there. FCT the best, who was actually briefly top of the session, so I think it shows how close it is that he was first for quite a while, ends up 11th in the end, but I don't think he's complaining. He's going to start on the medium tyres. So is Pinguino down in 15th. Mentos in a 17th, and the back of the grid of Daniel and the Pied Piper both also starting on mediums. Everyone else on the soft, so that definitely looks like the preferred strategy there. But who knows what could work here with the rain potentially on the way. That could throw a spanner in the works, as Hype has left the session here, and that's not a good sign for the Haas driver. Let's hope that he can rejoin for the race, because that'll be important points that he would lose out on if he doesn't manage to race. But the drivers now making their way around quite a long formation lap here. It's not the longest of circuits, but equally it's not quite the it's fairly average in terms of length. This circuit, I believe, 5.5 kilometers long. That's bang pretty much in the middle, towards the longest side of the scale. But this track should prove to provide some exciting racing here, with the two DRS zones, of course, on the main straight and down the back straight. Lots of overtaking areas as well. We could see some dive bombs into this corner that leader is coming through now. So that sort of very wide corner could lead to, or could tempt someone to stick a nose up the inside. But who knows what will happen in the next 28 laps. I will now hand you over to Storm for the race start.
Yeah, it is round, I think it's round 13, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so round number 13 in PSGL for the PS F9 tier. We have Felix 1 in your pole position slot in the AlphaTauri. Is he going to get down into turn number 1, still in that same position? We're going to find out in a very brief few seconds, as the drivers are now lining up in their grid slots. It is going to be Felix 1 versus Tusem. It's going to be AlphaTauri versus Mercedes into turn 1, as the drivers are now lining up in their grid slots. The first 15, I think, are now in, as we wait for the final few drivers to get into position, and we will have race start. It is going to be a soft to medium race strategy, I believe, but maybe some intermediate tyres and wet tyre conditions may come at the end of the race, and nobody hopefully will make a storm of it, no pun intended there, as we have 28 laps here in Kota, and I'm just waiting for the red lights. Hold on, let me just get a better camera angle. So race control has been given, and 3 lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go here in PSGL F9. Who is going to get the better entry into turn 1 as they all come down into turn number 1? It looks like Felix 1 is battling here for the race lead still, and they all get through nice and cleanly, and it looks like Pauldy is having a look at Tusum, but Tusum defends there very well. And Black Yoshi is right to the back of the grid. What has happened to Black Yoshi? It seems to be I can't see him on track. Oh, there he is. He has no wing at the moment, so sector 1, sector 2 yellow flag, but we'll go back to the middle of the pack as Jamie leaves the session. So he's having a few connection issues, and it looks like Alpine is getting a bit twitchy there and wants to make the early moves. No DRS at the moment on the first 2 laps. Lap 3 we will see the DRS, as a lot of drivers are using the ERS at the moment as they come through what would be the DRS straight, and it looks to be that Lars is trying to put the pressure on Bandini, and it is all chaotic. Oh, the Haas driver of Hype Shoals and Lars are going side by side for P9 as they come through, and I think Hype has got a little bit of connection issues, and that's why I think he might be struggling. On your screen there, it is a 2-stop, a soft medium can be used here this evening, but the drivers probably won't listen or pay attention to the on-screen graphic. As they come to the end of lap 1, I'll hand you over to Jackson.
Felix there managed to hold off on lap 1. Looks like he had good pace. The only real worry for him on that first lap, of course, was turn 1. Tusum looked up the inside, but wasn't quite close enough to make anything happen there. Midfield was, I mean, I'd say surprisingly tame for lap 1 of the Grand Prix, especially here at Kota. Of course, Black Yoshi had some sort of incident and is now in the pit with no wing, so it's bad luck for him, but with the exception of that, it looks like everyone's kept it pretty much clean throughout the field. And battling through the S section, that's not something I often see. Pachuca getting up past Niklas through there. Brilliant move, clearly from the McLaren driver. Maybe a mistake from the Ferrari allowed that overtake to happen there. But up at the front, it is Felix who is very much in control here. And unless anything major happens, it is looking like it could all be Felix's day. But Tusum is staying very close, as Niklas now comes under pressure from Bandini, who is also in turn coming under pressure from Hype Shoals. So it is getting very close here in the mid-pack here. But up at the front, are they pretty much going to stay nose tail? Yes, they are. Tusum not going to risk any late dive bombs now, at least at this stage of the race. It's not quite worth it. But with the mid-pack looking very close at the moment, we could have some drama here, as that's Vavabet battling away with Penguino.
Yeah, he's quite aggressive. Sorry to interrupt you there. Yeah, Vavabet is really aggressive to the Alfa Romeo. Oh, that's really close between Vavabet and Dustley, Alpine and Williams. Yeah, Vavabet had a bit of a not a good start in F9. He obviously got that qualifying ban, and then I believe he got a race ban because he didn't serve the qualifying ban, and he is getting very aggressive on the track, kind of Max Verstappen-esque, getting the elbows out, as we saw earlier today. Esteban Ocon tried to do that for Alonso. Yeah, so as Jamie, I don't know if is Jamie back in the lobby.
I
because
believe
he's just
so, because he's made a move there and it looked pretty realistic. Although his car is showing us Nikita Mazepin's, which is quite amusing.
Yeah, Vavabet takes the first penalty here in... Oh, sector 1, sector 2, that's Vavabet.
That's Vavabet,
he is
and he's
out.
in the wall. I think... Actually, I don't know there.
I know you can lose it.
Actually. He didn't look like he had any damage on the car. That was the strange thing. Even his front wing looked fine. So unless he's gone in at high speed backwards and that's retired the car, I don't know. But it's not an unusual place to lose it, but it looked unusual in the sense that the car didn't look like it had sustained any damage. I have to assume he's gone in rearwards, and that's why I missed it. But we do have a move up at the front. It's wheel to wheel for the lead. Felix on the outside. Tusum on the inside has now made their way into this, well, very tight third sector to the lap. They're still wheel to wheel here. Tusum not being able to make the move just yet. Will he look to the inside through here? No, he's going to stay out wide. Cohen Rob follows suit there as the top three getting very close. And Cohen Rob watching this battle, licking his lips because he sees perhaps a chance to pick up the pieces when those two start battling away. But already some intent from Twosome to try and take the lead away from Felix. So whilst Felix may have taken the may have controlled the race in the first couple of laps, it seems that he's not able to break away from the field at the moment. That DRS keeping everyone in touch with him. So that should keep us with quite an exciting race as Hype does come into the pit lane. Is that damage on the Haas car?
From what I can see, no. It doesn't look like it, but maybe an undercut. Maybe he sees something.
Well, they're changing the wing.
That's a wing. Yeah, well, there's a hint there. So, yeah. Paudy may be in a bit of a thing here because he's got... Where is he? There he is. He's got a very fast Red Bull behind him, and he's got Pachuca right behind, rear gunning that as well. Nicolas as well. He's up there.
I think a crucial thing there for Paudy as he loses the rear a little bit coming onto the back straight is that the battle up ahead of him allowed him back into the DRS zone, which will probably help him defend from those behind him. But we've got to move for the lead again, have we? And Twosome does this time fly past down the straight, brakes later, makes the corner, and Twosome to the lead of this race for Mercedes. Felix 1 down to second place. Cohen Rob again is sitting in the third place, going to be watching this battle up ahead of him. Will Felix send one to the inside? No, these guys being very sensible in these early stages of the race, knowing that there's another 24 laps ahead of them. So some smart driving from these guys up at the front. As we do have battling further down the order here, as we've got a freeway fight. It's only 3 wide going through the flat-out right-hander. It's now 2 wide between Dustley and Jamie. Which one of these two is going to come out ahead as they dive into the fast left-handers towards the end of this lap time? Dustley will be ahead, and Jamie has to slot in behind there. So it's a lot of racing throughout the pack at the moment, which is always great to see. As Felix goes to the lead, Felix going to the lead there. Twosome going to try it on the outside. Can he keep his nose in as they go into the S section? This is a brave one. Can he do it as they go towards the S section? They're wheel to wheel. Cohen Rob wants to get involved. He's going to try and take the position off of Twosome as well. But it is Felix 1 who will retake the lead of this race. Twosome dropping down a second. I don't think he was expecting the move coming back at him so quickly there. But Felix retakes the lead of this race. Did not like being in second one bit. And is back to the lead of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, as Dustley picks up a penalty of 3 seconds. And if Bandini wants to keep himself in this championship, he needs to get himself up that order, as CPI Daniel also gets a penalty. Bandini is P8 and Cohen Rob is going to get DRS, and the game gives me the most worst angle. It gives me of the back of the car, like I want to see the back of the car.
Battle for the lead, they're 3 wide. As they're 3 wide going into that hard braking zone, that's Felix 1 off the road. Cohen Rob to the lead there, making a brilliant move on the two of them. Twosome managed to maintain position there. But Cohen Rob had a brilliant move to get back into the lead of the race. These guys are battling very hard up front.
Yeah, and I think a certain F1 driver of Lando Norris would appreciate a dive like that. And yeah, he did definitely send that one. They are coming on to the end of lap 5, on to lap 6. So this will be interesting. Felix 1 is right on the back of Twosome. So he may have a look, but then Twosome is right on the back, well, close, should I say, on to Cohen Rob. There is a bit of a change as drivers are making their first pit stops. Why? Oh, the 2 medium runners are in already, so I wonder if they've got wing damage. That's Penguino and Daniel. Daniel's gone for the softs, and it looks to be Penguino has gone for a set of the mediums.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice there. Both of these guys with damage, I suppose, not really a choice at all in that sense, but still, those guys, that's very much relying on a safety car now to get them back in the fight. But up at the front, it's starting to spread out a little bit. Cohen Rob looks like he's got good pace out front, but this is Twosome's first big chance at retaking the lead away from him as they head towards the heavy braking zone at turn 12. To the inside looks Twosome. Will he make this move stick? Braking later there. Cohen Rob's going to be smart there and not fighting that one too hard. And Twosome back to lead of this race. It seems these guys are racing very hard up front, but it's nice. It's hard racing, but it's clean racing, and that's what we like to see. Felix 1 not having much pace on that previous lap. Looks like he's dropped back a little bit from the top 2. So he'll have to have a good lap this next time around. I have to, as Felix on picked up some damage to his car, because I don't know, it looks like he's perhaps struggling a tiny little bit here to stay with the top two. And from what going on board with him briefly, I may say, but it looks like he's got a little bit of understeer in the car. And given his pace early on, which of course was leading the Grand Prix at one stage and very much in the fight for it, he's dropping back from the top two, and perhaps he's picked up some sort of damage whilst battling for the lead.
Yeah, and I think you are right. Felix has some damage, as he's been informed to pick up the pace, as Hyped is trying to get that gap down. And yeah, there was a bit of a thing from one of the admins to Felix of pick up the pace.
I think Felix must have damage here looking at this car, because he's struggling to stay in the DRS, and on this occasion, Colin Rob and Twosome, something interesting I noticed going into the S section, Twosome tried to let Colin Rob go ahead so that he would have DRS down this straight. We're about to see why, because this is probably going to be an easy move for Colin Rob to retake the lead away from Twosome as they go into the braking zone. No, look how late Twosome brakes. Is it late enough? Not quite. Colin Rob does manage to take the position away there. But look at the pack here, they're so close here in this pack. The DRS is just so powerful here. No one can really pull away out front, and I mean, you almost want to be in second place because it's so easy to retake the lead. Second place seems to be sort of the place to be, because I mean, that'll be the lead down the next DRS zone, so that could definitely play out interestingly towards the end of the race. But with the top sort of 8 cars being so close together, an undercut could really be powerful here, because it's allowing the field to stay very close together. And as I say that, that's Nicholas into the pits. Is this a legitimate pit stop, or will this be for damage like all the others? Let's wait and see here.
Yeah, as he enters the Ferrari pit, and that looks to be... he's gone for the hards. So the first driver on the hards, maybe he is going to give some info back to Mentos, who's also in the Ferrari. Ferrari not had the best of seasons so far. They have one pole position, which comes from Mentos in France after he, let's just say it didn't end well. As Daniel sets the fastest lap here with a 1:35.4. Not really many penalties out at the moment. And everybody from P1 to P7, which is Karen Rob to Bandini, is all within 1 second. So it is creating a DRS train.
Yeah, let's see here on this occasion. Can Twosome fight back, or is he happy staying in second? No, he's going to send it to the inside there of Colin Rob into turn 12. This is becoming a favoured overtaking zone for pretty much everyone at the moment. But because of this sort of consistent swapping of the leader on what appears to be most laps of this race so far, it's not really allowing anyone else to get into the mix. Wow, that's a risky move from Colin Rob to go to the inside there. We've seen everyone play it safe through there so far. That is until now. These two are going to go wheel to wheel through the long right-hander. Will they both keep their noses in? Yes, they will. They're still side by side as they make their way around this long corner. Very high speed. Now into the final 2 corners. Colin Rob stays ahead there. Looks like Twosome backed out of it there, playing it smart. And into the pits comes Enrizel. And I'm sure he'll be trying to undercut these top guys. And perhaps keeping an eye on what Nicholas, I believe, is doing. As he was the first. But he went to the hard tyres. However, it's mediums going on the car of Enrizel. Same for the McLaren of Pachuca. So it's interesting to see the mix-up of strategies here. But the battle for the lead is still very much going on up front. Colin Rob just, well, what seems like millimetres ahead of the field at the moment.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where I think Colin Rob knows he is in for an absolute battle tonight, as Twosome is literally on the back of him every part of the track. Colin Rob knows that if he wants to win this race, he may have to win it to the pit stop strategy, as Twosome is just so fast that Colin Rob cannot get him in a straight line.
Yeah, let's see what happens on this occasion. Twosome again in second place. I think we can all guess where this is going. Will he make the move on this occasion? He's very much low on ERS now. These guys, they're battling harder than I would expect for the lead. He's going to go to the outside here. Going to try and keep his nose in as they go into this next one. Let's go on board with Felix 1 here. Get a good view of this battle up ahead. Oh, nearly contact between the two cars. Bit of a lock-up from Twosome there. But these guys are racing so hard. Twosome has a little lock-up. And Colin Rob back to lead of the race. It seems these guys are, well, at least top 2 seem to be pushing quite hard just to sort of stay in this lead. I wouldn't expect these guys to want to be in the lead so badly. Let's see, is anyone a pit from this group? Carl and Rob dummies to it, but no one falls for it, and they all stay out on this occasion. But, I mean, what would you want to do in this case, Storm? Because it seems like some guys are trying to push to be in the lead at all times, like Carl and Rob and Twosome, but equally it seems perhaps Felix One sitting back and quite happy to watch this battle go on up ahead of him.
I think I would be Felix One. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be pushing my tyres. I wouldn't want to be pushing the car. It just seems to be between Carl and Rob and Twosome of, well, I want it, but also I want it, so you can't have it situation. And if Carl and Rob wants to win this championship, this race, I think, is one of them races where it's going to be the crucial race, or races of the season, where we can pinpoint at the end of the season, that was the race that helped or made Carl and Rob, or whoever, the champion of this season.
Yeah, I think Carl and Rob here. Today is a crucial day. Twosome is going to have a go at this lead again going into turn 12. And again, he's going to take it. Is he? Carl and Rob not going to fight this one too hard on this occasion. Twosome goes a little bit deeper. Carl and Rob's going to sit back and watch, and does drop down to second place there. It's almost like a regularity here. Each lap that goes by, each time they swap the lead going to that turn 12 corner. I think both of these guys need to start thinking about the long term here. Carl and Rob, I think Carl and Rob, in terms of the championship, a second place would still be a brilliant result for him as long as he's second ahead of Bandini, sorry. Because of course if it's Bandini ahead, then the championship lead comes down and all of that. As they go to the pit, all three of them come into the pit, so that's a very late call from all of them. But all three of them now coming down pit lane. I think these guys want to stay together purely because they don't want to lose the DRS. It seems that the undercut has almost become sort of something they're not really worried about, purely because of the DRS is how powerful it is. However, we saw of course that fastest lap from Daniel earlier on. Perhaps the fresher tyres were the way to go. And let's have a look at who's going to come out ahead. And it is Enrizel that will be in the net race lead here, I believe, because he is out on medium tyres. He's already made his pit stop today. So has Pachuca. And Niklas as well. Of course, he's on the hard tyres, so he's gone with a slightly different strategy here. As they're battling again into the S section. Are they going to keep themselves side by side? No, Twosome ahead here. But these guys, whilst they've sort of been focusing on each other, it's almost like they've forgotten about the rest of the field. Because they're only, well, I think 2 laps sort of behind everyone else on sort of tyre life. Only 2 laps sort of fresher tyres, which of course is a small advantage, but not a huge one. But they're about, well, how many? About 4 seconds behind Enrizel at the moment, who appears to be the net race leader on those fairly fresh medium tyres. So, I mean, these guys, they were the leaders, so of course they have the pace to get back into this, but dropping back a little bit in terms of net positions here.
Yeah, as Twosome is going to get past Nicholas, and it looks like kind of Rob, he has a look, but the door gets closed on him. It's kind of their situation, the front three that were at the front. It's like stepping on each other's toes. They can't be afford to doing that, because one slight error, as Karen Rob goes down the inside very late on the brakes and is he going to get past Nicholas? Nicholas is going to fight this. This is 4P9, and Nicholas is going to still fight it, but I think he's given up. And that is, oh, Felix One has a cheeky look there and gets the move. So that's Nicholas down 3 positions within half a lap.
Yeah, those hard tyres don't seem to be working for him here. As Bandini's into the pits here as well as Powder. Let's see how these guys fare as they come out of the pit lane. Powder's gone to soft tyres, so he's surely committing to a 2-stop strategy here. I don't know if that'll be the way to go or not today. But it looks like Powder has committed to that strategy. He'll want to have to make some moves in this next sort of stage of the Grand Prix. But the hard tyres for Nicholas just don't seem to be working. As he drops down the order a little bit, he's going to have to try and hang on to the back of this group of cars. Whilst pitting early, the undercut did work in that sense. I mean, it only lasted. He was only ahead of them for well, less than a lap, realistically. So that strategy really hasn't played out for him here, unless the others have to make another pit stop. In which case, then maybe he can play himself back into it, because you'd have to assume the hards and go to the end. But I mean, I don't know. It's an unusual strategy call from Niklas here. He's the only one doing this strategy, so we'll have to wait and see whether it plays out or not. But it is, so far, it doesn't look to have worked. But let's see how this goes, as we've got a swap of positions here. Felix One gets past Carl and Rob. The pair of these guys lost the DRS to Twosome there whilst trying to get past Niklas. So they're now going to have to re-hunt down Twosome, which looks like they're going to be able to do here as long as they don't battle each other too much. Felix One already back under a second away from Tusum. And they are reeling in Rizzle and Pachuca. Pachuca actually now the lead car on this strategy. Missed that one happening, but these guys now catching a little bit of traffic up ahead. It's really getting interesting here with a sort of not really a split of strategies, no obvious split of strategies, I suppose. It's sort of hard to truly know what's going on here as Felix One sets the fast lap of the race.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to throw this one to our viewers that are watching the race and supporting this here so fantastically. Who do you think will be on top 3 at the end of this race? Because we are expecting some rain as Pachuca sets the... no, he doesn't. He gets a 3-second time penalty, and so does Black Yoshi. Black Yoshi is 17.1 seconds behind the next car, so not a great day there for the Williams team. They are P16 and P19. Bandini has an absolute mammoth of a task. He is currently in P12 on the mediums, and look who he's got to get past in front, and they won't be any easy feat to get past.
Yeah, as I mean they've got the tyre advantage here. Does Pachuca over the best and Pied Piper, but with the power of DRS, it's not be easy. It nearly goes into the back of the best there. Pachuca. This is the time when Tusum, Felix One, and the others, as he sends it to the inside here, this is when those guys can catch back up to this group of cars, because they're getting held up by those that are doing a slightly longer first in. That's a brave move. Makes the move halfway around that long right-hander there, and that was a very brave move put on Pachuca, but put on by Pachuca, I should say, and it's paid off there as he gets ahead of the best. And perhaps some team orders here at McLaren. I doubt we'll see these two fight too hard, but who knows, as they make their way across the line. Another fast lap from Felix. Felix is really flying at this stage of the race.
Yeah, and I don't think you will be seeing any team orders, McLaren, because both drivers have got themselves on the top 3. Pachuca got the race win in China, and the Pied Piper took a maiden podium in Austria, so I don't think you'll be seeing any team orders come from
Jamie's in the wall and out of the race.
Is this going to throw a safety car? It is going to throw a safety car. Safety car is deployed on lap 14, so halfway through the race we have a safety car. Now this is crucial because who is going to be bold and make a pit stop? Because if you make a pit stop now, you are essentially committing to a 2-stop if there is rain.
I mean, Mentos, the Pied Piper, the best, have all gained a ton here. They'll now get a free pit stop, and Mentos, I've underrated driver so far in this race. 4 seconds ahead of those on the same strategy of him. I think that's a pretty good first stint for him. And with this safety car, that's how long would you say a pit stop is under safety car? Well, I say that we don't know what everyone's going to do here. I think Nick Lass will probably be smart to come in, but I mean, if you're choosing with Felix One, do you think you'd pit now?
If I was the Pied Piper, I'd pit. Oh, Black Yoshi gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the pit lane. The safety car, should I say? Pied Piper, I would pit. Pachuca, I would. I may stay out for. Yeah, Pachuca is going to stay out. For Nicholas, I would definitely pit. The hards aren't working. The mediums and the softs seem to be the more better tyre. So yeah, I would box for mediums. So the Pied Piper's gone for the softs.
Crucial pit stop in terms of the championship. Bandini's into the pits for a fresh set of softs. That is an interesting choice here, and that means our two title rivals are now on different strategies. Hype is also in the pit lane here. What tyres will he go on to? He's going to go on to the medium tyres. He's playing a bit safer here. But with this safety car, in theory, this means the rain is going to come earlier in the race, if that makes sense. If the rain was going to, let's say, come on lap 26 of the Grand Prix, it's now going to come maybe lap 24 because of these slower lap times behind the safety car. More time before, well, I say less laps are being completed, but in the amount of time that we'd usually see, I mean, let's say, this safety car's going to probably be out 2-3 laps. Looking at, Black Yoshi's quite a way behind actually at the moment, and he does pit as well. So we're looking at maybe a 2-3 lap long safety car here. So this could definitely bring the rain a couple laps earlier.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I know what Black Yoshi's trying to do. He's trying to serve that drive-through under a safety car.
That
it
is not
won't
something you can
work.
do, yeah.
That's not something you can do in the FIA regulations. So yeah, the safety car is out. The Mercedes red safety car, not the nice green one that we have seen in a few races this season. So at the moment, in lap 15, while the safety car is out, Pachuca is your race leader for McLaren. Then we have in Rizzle in P2, Tusum in third. Then we've got Felix 1 in fourth, Cairo P5, Sunboy in sixth. That's the top six on the medium compound tyre. And then in seventh, we have Pauli on the softs, Mentos in eighth on the softs, Dustley in ninth on the mediums. Rounding off the top 10 is Lars, 27 on the mediums. Outside the top 10 is the Pied Piper on softs, FCT the best on softs in P12, Nicolas on softs in 13th, Bandini all the way down in 14th on the softs, Hyped Shoals in P15 on mediums, which is now being switched because Daniel is in the pit, so that completely threw that off.
And he
as Daniel has retired.
You'd have to assume he had to go or something then, because he was back in the fight. He needed a safety car, one came out, and he decides to pit. Decides to retire, so it's an unusual call there. So hope everything's alright then. That's a curious situation.
As the final two remaining in the race is Penguino and Black Yoshi, but Black Yoshi does have to serve the drive-through, which he'll do on the first lap after the safety car has come in. So that'll be interesting. I think now the pack is all bunched up again on lap 16 of 28.
Yep, the field all together once again. God, I mean, we say bunched together, but I mean, it's like that, I think that goes under the radar, at least in my view, under safety car. It's just how spread out the field still is. It's still a 10-second gap from from Pachuca down to Black Yoshi, which, given that they're all behind the safety car, you'd think would be a bit bigger. It's 12 seconds now, a bit smaller, sorry. I think it just shows how sort of the field spread has an effect even behind the safety car. I mean, we talk about it at the start of a Grand Prix, how the field can spread out and mean that people fall back early on in the race, not because of the pace, but just because you can't fit all the cars close enough to each other, just simply because of the size of them, the dirty air and all those things. The safety car is in this lap, but we do have a split strategy here. The highest driver on the fresh softs, fully fresh softs, is Mentos, so I imagine he could go to the end of the race. Pauli 3 laps on those soft tyres, I doubt they'll go to the end, but the pack is now in Pachuca's hands as they prepare for this restart. Could be some excitement on its way now as these drivers prepare for the final 12 laps in today's Grand Prix. Pachuca making his way through this long right-hander here. Which is actually surprisingly seen a couple of overtakes through here today. Safety car is now getting into the pits, so Pachuca can go when he's ready. It's pretty smart to go quite early here at the Circuit of the Americas because you can use the dirty air through the final corner. Let's see where he goes. He's still holding them up, and now he puts the foot down and goes into the final corner. And Rizzle in second place. Pachuca will lead the field, back up to Green Flag Racing. And Rizzle follows him. Tusum in third, and immediately Tusum's coming under a big attack here from Felix 1 as they go towards turn 1. The battle for P3 is already back underway. These two, it feels like they've been battling on every single lap of this race so far. Felix 1 on the inside and takes a position off of Tusum. Carl and Rob perhaps can have a look here as they make their way into the S section for the first time. But that battle's cost them a little bit of time to the top two, but Felix 1 up into third position and is looking quite good on these medium tyres as he's looking to, well, reel in the top two drivers in this race. These medium tyres, not too worn, but equally they're not exactly fresh, so keep an eye out for Mentos and Pauli to start making a few moves up the order. But it is a clean getaway for Pachuca up in the lead of this race.
Yeah, as I believe further down the pack, yeah, Mentos is going to have a fight here with Pauli. They did have a little bit of wheel bang, and they are going to go down the DRS, what would be DRS, as it looks like Pauli is going to have a look at Sunboy and gets the move done, and that's Pauli up to P6, but Sunboy is going to come really late on the brakes, and he goes for a move, but that move does not get completed as They are now going to come through the long right-hander, the first lap after the safety car, as Yoshi will have to pit. He has a drive-through penalty. Not many drivers on penalties as they come now to the end of the first lap after the safety car.
Yep, back up to speed now. DRS will be available, I should say, in a couple of laps' time, but it's not stopping these guys from racing. Tusum looks to be struggling a little bit here as Carl and Rob sends one to the inside, trying to recreate the move that Felix did on the last lap. Not able to be quite successful though, as Felix, as Tusum does get a better exit on the corner, and Tusum holds on to that position. But Tusum looks to be struggling in these on these medium tyres. Looks like he had possibly the strongest pace of the top drivers in that first soft stint, but now just doesn't look like he's quite there with the others. Of course, he is being helped out though by the fact that the top two drivers are on I say much, 2 lap holder medium tyres, so that will give the advantage to those on the slightly fresher tyres, which of course will mean bunches up the top 6 or 7 a little bit together. Battling further down the order here as we've got the Pied Piper and the Best battling away with Bandini sitting right behind the pair of them. Will he make a move? Is he going to make it 3 wide as they head down into turn 12? Are they going to go 4 wide? Niklas is going to make it 4 wide as they go into the corner. He smartly backs out of that one a little bit. He has to cut the corner, I think, a tad there to avoid any incident. Bandini now racing with the Best, and Bandini up into the points, so still a bit of a recovery drive ahead of him, but he's starting to go in the right direction now in this race. Bandini starting to make some moves.
Yeah, and Black Yoshi's got himself up to P14, even though he has that drive-through penalty that he has to serve within the next 2 laps, because the first lap he's now passed, so he's got to do it within 2 laps, as DRS has now been enabled by race control, and that's a 3-second time penalty for FCT the Best, as Black Yoshi will now serve that drive-through penalty. Yep,
the gap at the front now with DRS enabled is surely going to close down much quicker. These guys have, I suppose, been waiting for the DRS. It's not actually the easiest track to follow on here at Kota. The high-speed corners tend to make it quite tough to get close to the car in front. But now with DRS enabled, that means that that'll all be done on the corner, on the straight. Sorry, but that is Niklas in the wall through the S section. He's had an incident of some kind, and with wing damage there as well. That is an early end to Niklas's day. Whilst he has kept the car going, unless there's another safety car, he's not really looking like he's in the fight anymore, which is a shame for him. He's had some. He's been very much in the fight all day long, so it's a shame to see his day effectively come to an end early. But up at the front, we could well see a move for the lead, and Rizzle's going to look to the inside. No, he's not going to go for it. He's going to sit back on this occasion. We've got more yellow flags, and that's Niklas retiring from the session there. Azul Powdy looks like he may have gone to the inside, and a safety car is deployed.
Yeah, the safety car has been redeployed.
I think Niklas may have binned it into a wall instead of pressing retire. I don't know whether that's deliberate or not, but
he should be doing it in the pits.
Yeah,
I think that's what the PSGL rules are. That you have, if you don't want to continue anymore, it has to be in the pits, unless you have an incident on track that, you know, puts your car with like 3 wheels.
But yeah, but the thing is there, I think he's deliberately put himself in a wall, so he hasn't pressed retire, so to speak. So it's not like that as some people fake into the pits. Mentos would have been probably the most unlikely of all of them to pit in that scenario. We could see someone at the back. Of course, this is going to allow Black Yoshi back into it, but am I seeing things of the sky just get very dark just all of a sudden?
Yeah, and I think I are seeing rain, very light rain come down.
I'm not seeing rain yet, but I am seeing very...
Yeah, I'm just riding on board with Bandini. I think he's kind of got the best viewpoint, because you can really see the rain when it does come down on these Mercedes.
There's nothing coming down yet from what I can see, but I'll stay on board here for just a little bit, because I think the second the rain comes down, I think we could see a few drivers take a risk, early gamble to the intermediate tyres here, because if it does come down heavy enough, then making an early switch to the Inters could well save you a pit stop, especially if it's under safety car. So perhaps we could see someone at the back of the field, maybe a Penguino or Hyped. I mean, if Hyped risked it, that would definitely be an exciting one in terms of the championship. So I think keep an eye on that one. I don't know. We could maybe see someone towards the back of the grid, someone that's not really had the pace, perhaps struggled a little bit today. We could see someone down there try something, go to the intermediate tyres, maybe even before it started raining. Because, I mean, the situation they're in at the moment, if the rain does fall and they leaders have to pit 1 or 2 laps after the safety car, safety car comes in, I should say, then that could really allow the driver who was restarted on the intermediate tyres gain a ton of time and potentially be the difference between who wins and who loses this race.
Yeah, as they're all pretty much bunched back up as well. So I wonder if that safety... Well, we would have been notified by now if that safety car was going to come in. Yeah, so Pachuca, he's going to lead his second safety car this race. And he's doing a McLaren masterclass at the moment. He is currently in P1, but he does have a penalty. I'm just going to double check what that penalty is. It's 6 seconds. Yeah. So if it ended the way it was, he's looking to drop, quite massive. As who's into the pits?
What's Felix One going to go to? Let's wait and see. I've known Felix One to take a risk on rain before. It looks like he's going to go to the intermediate tyres. He has correct in other leagues. I have seen him correctly predict the switch, and rain is falling now. As I say that, rain has just begun to fall here. Has Felix One just played a blinder? Has he just put himself in a position to cruise to a win here today? The rain is falling, Felix One is on the intermediate tyres. Surely the safety car's coming in this time. The field is all bunched together. How heavily does this rain come down? If it's only light, then maybe the guys on the dries can stay out and risk it. But if this rain comes down heavy enough, Felix One has just put himself in pole position to win this race. And that's a gamble I thought someone at the back would take, not someone in the top positions. But at least now it looks like it could well be a gamble that pays off. However, in many times we have seen rain fall, but not be enough for the intermediate tyres. So I think it's just important for Felix that he protects those tyres, because it's very easy to overheat them in dry conditions. And I think he'll be keeping his eyes glued to the track surface to see how much water there is on it, because with the rain only coming down, it's not wet yet. The track is, I would say at the moment, still very much a dry circuit, but keep an eye on it, because it could well be wet tyre ready very soon here, and the safety car in theory should be in on this occasion if the field is bunched up enough, and the track is starting to get very damp here. And yes, the track does now look like it is wet enough for inters, in my opinion. Look, just eyeballing the circuit. But I'll hand over to you, Storm, for this safety car restart.
Yeah, as the safety car is going to come in, I wonder if anyone is going to pit. This kind of goes back to the Hungary Grand Prix, where it was raining, and then all we saw was Lewis Hamilton on the starting grid all on his own. But Pachuca is not going to be all on his own. It is now raining in Kota, and it is not letting up. Felix One is on the softs, not the softs, intermediate, should I say. Nobody is pitting. Oh yeah, they're all going in.
Pitting.
The
entire field is following the safety car down. Is the only person going to stay out? Is it going to be Felix, the only person who stays out here? It is. Felix is the only one. Well, this is a mix-up to the Grand Prix, isn't it? Felix One takes the lead of the American Grand Prix here in F9. On his intermediate tyres, he's the only one that took the risk, and has that risk paid off? It certainly has. He is now way ahead of the field. He's already going to the S section. Pachuca, well, he's only coming out of the pits now. I mean, wet tyres for Bandini. I think that may have been the wrong call there, I'm not sure. But it is Felix One in the lead by, well, a long way, 12 seconds at least. It is a masterclass of a strategy there from the AlphaTauri driver, and now if he keeps that car on the black stuff for the next 7 laps, then he has very much got this win in his grasp.
Yeah, they may call him the next AlphaTauri strategist after that, but yeah, what a fantastic pit stop strategy there for Felix One. Funny enough, it's the two NLR drivers in P1 and P2 in the AlphaTauri and the McLaren. And I believe Felix One is a reserve. I don't know, is he a reserve or is he a full-time?
He started out as a reserve, but I don't know if he's got a full-time seat since.
Yeah, I was just questioning. Yeah, because if he's doing this as a reserve, then fair play. He's telling admins and everything that he should have got a full-time one, because he's putting on a masterclass at the moment. Pachuca in P2, and Rizzle, his first proper race here this evening in F9 in P3. He could potentially snatch a P2 if Pachuca doesn't extend that gap. But yeah, everyone is just having a feeling out process here on the intermediates, as it's not a tyre that's normally used, as Tusum is right on the back of Rizdal. I don't know if DRS has been disabled yet. We will find that out. Yeah.
I imagine it just wasn't re-enabled after the safety car, would be my best guess. As Tusum does send it to the inside of turn 1. In these intermediate conditions, it's much harder to just simply outbrake someone, though. And he isn't able to pull off the move on this occasion, and Rizzle holds on to that third position. But he doesn't look very comfortable in these conditions at the moment. He's got Tusum all over the back of his rear end.
Yeah, and it is now coming to the final closing stages in this fantastic round 13 in Kota. So it is going to be interesting who is going to get that race win, because a few drivers have penalties. Pachuca has a penalty, so Karen Robb could still end up on the podium if he can get past Tusum. It is very close to call.
Yeah, these guys are... Well, I mean, Tusum, he's going to have to pull away here if he wants to try and get on the podium by a long way. He's got 9 seconds of penalties of Pachuca at the moment. It's a shame that he's got those penalties, because his pace has been good. Arguably, you could say it's because of the sort of track limits risks he's been taking, but still, it's a shame to see Pachuca's result is going to be hampered so much by the penalties, I should say. But his pace definitely looks strong, and he can take that away from the day. Even if he only ends up with a P8 or something along those lines, he can take away from the fact that he was one of the quickest guys out there today, and he has reeled in Felix a little bit on these laps. So I think Pachuca, especially in the intermediate conditions, looks very, very strong. So whilst the penalty's going to hinder his actual result today, he can rest easy knowing that he put in a very strong drive, even if it doesn't pay off in terms of results.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, since Tusum's come into this tier... Oh, sector 3, yellow flags.
Bandini.
That's Bandini, yeah. He's having a USA nightmare, I think. Yeah, as I was going to mention, since Tusum's come in as a reserve, or a full-time if he is either, he has really been up there. You know, every race he's at least a top 5 driver. So, you know, fair play to him, fair credit. He is really getting in the mix in this tier as well, and we love to see it.
It's very true. I mean, that's the thing is about this tier, is that there's been so many drivers who have been able to just sort of get in the mix here at race, like week in, week out. It's almost like we see different drivers showing up each week, and of course that's Bandini around again this time. Yeah, just through turn 2 days, the wet tyres have not worked for him here, and the Mercedes driver, the championship contender, not looking like he's having a good day here. And struggling. The gamble he has taken has not paid off here, and perhaps it'd be a smart decision to switch back to the intermediate tyres, just so that he doesn't sort of crash out and limit his chances of getting any sort of result today, because maybe a safety car could bring him back into it. So I think he just needs to play it safe and hope for someone else's misfortune.
Yeah, and I think we won't really see many overtakes now as the wet conditions have kind of settled in. Oh, as Dustley has a moment and understeers it, and he has retired.
He's in the wall. That could be a safety car.
He's in the wall. I bet you it will be. I can guarantee you, knowing this game, that would be a safety car.
It's not going to be a safety car. It's going to stay green here, despite Dustley crash. And safety car is
out. How can this save Bandini so much?
Equally, you've got to feel for Felix 1. He's put in a strategic masterclass. He's got himself 13 seconds in the lead, and then a safety car comes out. Oh, you've got to feel for the guy. He played that last safety car to an absolute treat, and it hurts to see the safety car come out and ruin his chances. However, from a racing perspective of this, and as a commentator perspective, well, one hell of a finish we are going to get here today. So let's hope that it all stays nice and clean on the final race. Of course, these wet conditions, anything can happen, but shame for Felix. A strategic masterclass has it's paid off. It's given him the lead, but now it's not given him any more than the lead, as he will now find himself just, well, probably less than a second out in front by the time the safety car comes in. However, it will surely have to be a very short safety car with not many laps left in this race. It could end up being maybe a 1 or 2 lap dash at the end. Bandini has gone back to the Inters. So yeah, who knows what could happen at the end. I mean, with this late safety car, people who are watching the stream, please leave your predictions down in the comments, because, I mean, this is not really mixed things up, I wouldn't say. It's certainly not mixed things up, because it's quite hard to overtake in these conditions. However, it has brought everyone together, in the sense that now it's gone from very much Felix 1's, unless he made a mistake, to any sort of small mistake will be enough for Felix 1 to lose this win now. So he is... I imagine he's a little bit... it feels a little disheartened seeing that safety car come out. However, he is still in the lead of this race, in conditions where it's very hard to overtake, and the driver behind has 9 seconds of penalties. So he is still very much in control of this Grand Prix, but his control has been loosened just a tad.
Yeah, and if this wasn't getting you excited for the action, when we come back in 2 weeks' time, as the esports event is next week, we thought it was this week, but it's not. It's next week. The final 2 races are going to be absolutely epic. We have Azerbaijan coming up, and if anything's to see by this tier, that could be an absolute banger of a race. Oh, Felix, don't go past the safety car, mate. And then the season finale in around about 3-4 weeks, I believe. Mid-December is in Sao Paulo, so 2 fantastic races coming up in F9, obviously, and the completion of this race, which, if you go back to the first race we commentated for F9, was Bahrain. That was a chaotic end, and I think this one could go down to the wire.
Yeah, this is going to get exciting now. Safety car will lead the field. I mean, it's a sign of just how dominant, how much of a lead Felix had, that, I mean, he's been sat behind the safety car for a decent amount of time, and it's in this lap already. Okay, well, that Bandini's day is, well, not exactly going well.
He's not pushing up daisies.
Yeah, there's only going to be... I mean, if Felix runs smart here, he will be glued to the back of the safety car until the second it comes in, because at this rate, if he goes basically as early as he can on this restart, there's only going to be about 10 cars on the back of the train maximum. So, well, this has certainly an interesting call by the the FIA to bring in this safety car so soon. But the safety car, and as I said, Felix 1 is glued to the back of this safety car. He does not want to let it go. He is really keeping close to it as the safety car is going to pull into the pit lane now. Felix 1 has to be careful that he doesn't jump it. But the safety car is not quite in the pits, I don't know. Oh, big slide there from Felix 1. Pachuca gets a good restart. We are back up to green flag racing. Who can win this? Can Felix 1 hold off? Can Pachuca send one to the inside on this restart? He's playing it safe now, but Tusum isn't. He's going to send one to the inside of Inrizzle. We've seen behind him, well, stuck behind him for a couple laps now. Will he finally get this move done? Yes, he does. Up into P3 goes Tusum, and gets himself up onto the podium positions. Can he take the fight to the top 2? He's had good pace all day long. Pachuca's keeping the pressure on Felix 1 now. But can Felix 1 just cruise to the win, or will someone else get into the mix here?
Yeah, and it's going to go right down to the wire here in Kota, and it is absolutely raining cats and dogs in Kota now, as massive lockup on the front right, or front left, should I say, of Tusum. This is the highest assist here in PSGL for the PS platform. There's 13 tiers across the PSGL PlayStation tier, which is from F1 to F13, spread out across the week, as it looks like Kyle Robb had a look at Enrizzle, but I think backed out of it because of the rain. But he is knocking on the door of potentially a P4, maybe a P3.
Yeah, it's Kyle Robb here. He's got to be smart here. His championship rival had an awful day, so Kyle Robb can put himself in a brilliant championship position. But of course, every point matters. He can't guarantee that he won't have a bad day next in 2 weeks' time in Baku. So he still needs to maximise all the points he can get today, as he sits in P5 at the moment. And looking at the back of the Red Bull there, and Rizzle didn't have the greatest of pace previously before that last safety car. So Kyle Robb may well be able to make this move, but at the moment is in P5 and looks to be pretty much stuck there at the moment. Up at the front though, Felix 1 with a 7.5 tenth lead in this Grand Prix. as the final lap has begun. He's looking good at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah, as they are now on the final lap. If Felix gets a penalty, I think he may drop outside of the podium. That's how close they are. As Bandini picks up another penalty, and it's gone from disaster to absolute nightmare for the Mercedes driver. It may be a disaster for Bandini, but his teammate Tusum is on for another podium potentially, or even a race win here if Felix 1 does get a penalty. We can't see what the warnings are, but I'll hand you over to my commentator colleague Jackson for what will be a very frantic race finish here in Kota.
Yeah, Pachuca here is on the back of Felix 1, but of course with the 9-second penalties, it's not worth a risky look to the inside, and he will stay behind as Bandini gets another penalty as he retires from the race with 1 lap to go. Not sure if that was really worth it, but that is Bandini's day over and putting himself in a bit of a hole in the championship fight. But it is Felix 1 who does lead this race now. Dropped Tusum not at a great lap here. He's dropped a little bit back off the back of Pachuca. Pachuca having to push hard here just to try and limit the damage that is going to be caused by his penalty. But at the moment it is Felix 1 who has, well, controlled the wet conditions here. A strategic masterclass from the AlphaTauri driver. Got him out in the lead. I mean, he was in the lead by 12 seconds at one point. That safety car brought it back down to just a second. But no matter what, Felix 1 wins the American Grand Prix. And what a drive that one was. What a call that one was by Felix to get himself the win here today. It's Tusum who takes second place, and then Rizzle gets the podium position there. Carl Robb, championship leader, gets P4 today. Mentos getting up into P5 there. And that was an exciting Grand Prix today. The rain at the end changed it all, I think it's fair to say. And, well, that truly was an exciting race.
Yeah, fantastic there for Felix 1. Just a quick note that Pachuca dropped from P2 to P7, so Tusum getting P2 and Rizzle getting his maiden podium here in PSGL F9 as a reserve, as Carlsbury was supposed to be here tonight, but a few late check-in situations prevented that. So it is Felix 1 in the AlphaTauri in there for the race win, and I'll hand you over to Jackson for the provisional race classification here in Kota.
Yes, of course, our podium guys. It is, of course, Felix who takes the win ahead of Tusum, and in the third position it was in Rizzle, of course, the Rebel driver, the reserve, getting a podium today. Colin Robb getting good points for his championship challenge. Mentos made a fantastic recovery drive there, started 17th, finished 5th. Brilliant drive there by the Ferrari. Porty gets P6, that penalty cost him a little bit there, with Pachuca dropping all the way from 2nd down to 7th because of his 9 seconds of penalties. So it could have been much more for Pachuca today, but of course it just wasn't meant to be on the penalty side of things. P8 will be Lars for AlphaTauri. Decent day for AlphaTauri, P1 and P8, good points in the Constructors' Championship fight. We have Hyped in 9th and Penguino taking P10 for Alfa Romeo. Of course, this season's Constructors' title fight being between Mercedes and Alfa Romeo, that was only split by 5 points going into this race, so that fight is very much still alive there with decent results from both teams. But that is your results from today's PSGL F9 race here at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, you might probably be better at maths than me. Hyped finished P9. Does he jump Bandini? Because Bandini won't have got any points, and if you said it was 6, then
he would have got 2 points, I believe. For P9.
Doesn't PSGL have different point system though? I swear they do.
They do, but I don't know if it has a different number of drivers that get points.
Yeah.
Because if it's top 10, then it has to be 2 points based on the PSGL system. I know a winner is 16. I believe it's 16, 12, 10, 8. I think it then might be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is what I would guess at. In which case, I wasn't counting how many positions that was. I mean, let's do that again. 16, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so 2 points for P9 if that is the correct point system. I believe it is.
So it's 4 points short.
Gap,
but
yeah.
That is the end of round 13 in Kota in the Circuit of Americans this evening. We won't be here next week as Event 3 of the Formula One Pro Series esports event will take place. So we won't be here next week, but we will return back in the week commencing of the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix for round 14, when we hit the streets of Baku in Azerbaijan, and then the season finale after that for Sao Paulo. And I think we both can agree it is going to be an epic and fantastic final 2 races here in PSGL F9 to close out what has been a fantastic season so far.
Indeed it will be. 2 drivers in the title fight, with hype very much still in that as well. It's looking like it may come to an early close in Azerbaijan, however, don't be sure of anything here, especially when the next track is Azerbaijan. Who knows what will happen next time out. But that is it from me, Jackson, and that is it from Storm. We won't see you next week, but we'll see you the week after that for Azerbaijan. But until then, goodbye.
Good night.